welcome to the celebration of Richard Schmid and our 24-hour Paint-A-Thon. I'm welcoming everybody right now from all around the world. I'm homing in on you from the UK. It's dark outside right now. It's 5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm a little bit nervous because we've got to stay awake for 24 hours. So bear with us, please. But I wanted to say we're live and we're starting to welcome people in. We've already got nearly 100 people with us this morning, this evening, this afternoon. I'm Simmy Jackson. I'm from Rosemary Brushes, and I'm here with you today, running all the things technical with the brilliant Joe Hawkins, who you'll rarely see because he's behind the camera a lot, but just know that he's here too. And I'll try and get him in wherever I can to help us moderate. We're just so excited to welcome you all in honour of the dear Richard. And it's been mine and Joe's pleasure to help Nancy create this event and make her dreams become a reality. So I'm going to spotlight now a friend of ours, a friend of Richard's and Nancy's, Colley Whisson. Here we go. Let me see. Can we hear you?
Hopefully. Can you?
Yeah!
I'm here. Fantastic.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, bless you. You're kicking us off the first hour. Joe, you need to put us on the clock, by the way. So you're kicking us off on the first hour of our, or the first 5 or 10 minutes or half hour of our 24-hour Paint-A-Thon. So thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's an absolute pleasure. I've sort of grown up in art, and my father's always had a really great art book collection, and Richard Schmid's Paints the Landscape was one of my first introductions into his work. So it's his work sort of just is so magnificent. It just sort of brings visual joy to your day. So it's kind of one of my favourite subjects.
Well, tell us, before we get going, tell us where you're calling from and how you learned about Richard. And then what I'm going to do is welcome Kathy Anderson into the room with the three of us, because I know that you've known Kathy for a long time as well. So tell us about yourself first.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm a third generation Australian artist. I was born in Brisbane, Australia. My father, who's 88 this month, actually about a week's time, he started it when he was about 18. So that's back, he's a one year older than Richard. So, and he started painting, but then started teaching in the early 70s and was recognised as one of the top artists in our state, and then sort of got better known throughout Australia. So I was about 20, and actually I share one thing with Richard, is that I'm a twin as well. But my twin brother's an electrician. He's kind of got the opposite side of the brain. I've kind of got the artistic side, similar to my father, I guess. And we both turned 20, and I'm one of 7 children as well. So I'm number 5 and he's number 6. So I think Dad thought he was running out of kids to carry on sort of the painting. And it was the first Tuesday night in June 1986, painting away. My twin brother lasted about 2 lessons and has never really come back, but it just wasn't his thing, and that's perfectly fine. And I just found I enjoyed it. There was no pressure to get good or better at it. But my father had and like most artists, they have a great book collection, and that was the way to learn magazines or especially books. If you saw an artist's work in a book, you knew they were of some standard and some quality. And so I first went through the Australian artists, which we do actually have a very strong artistic heritage in Australia, even though we're quite isolated. We're a little bit like how we are in sport. We kind of fight a little bit above our kind of population and our isolation as well. So I think I was about 21. I've been drawing and painting for about a year. So this was 1987. And my father said, oh, have a look at this artist's work, and mentioned Richard's name. And I thought, okay. And straight away, when you flip through and you see his work, sort of fireworks and then goosebumps were sort of going up the back of my neck. And I was a little disappointed. There was a couple of black and white images, but that was sort of the 70s, and
right.
you were kind of lucky to get color, sort of really even as short as then. No, so then that sort of led me on to a sort of bit of a now 35 years of sort of what that influence was for a certain quality, a certain discipline. Even though my style is actually quite different, I'm probably more of the Australian school, but it's like you may love music and you may play a different, I kind of play a different instrument to Richard, but you both have that love for music, and he's sort of just managed to always sort of bring the best out of myself. And I think it's good to have those heroes that you do look up to, and you're constantly sort of trying to, and I doubt I'll need another lifetime to even come close to his work, but I enjoyed my ride so far. So, and I think that's the most important part. And actually, that's why when I got to meet Richard in 2019, in between workshops, I was teaching in Vermont, and it was such a dream come true, actually, by seeing so much of his work, hanging on every last sort of magazine publication, seeing a new series of paintings, but then to finally be able to meet, excuse me, and then see his work, see his environment was, yeah, just an absolute dream come true. It was like a kid in a candy store. It was amazing. And Nancy was so gracious, and everyone, and Kathy, it was such an amazing day. But that strong influences resonates through every painting, and his words that he writes just stays with you so strong, because you know that for him to achieve work that he did, the ideas and theories are just sound. You don't have to go any more away from that. And a good artist friend, when I loaned him my Alla Prima, Everything I Know About Painting, when he gave it back to me, he said, this is like a Bible. It's an art Bible. It really is. So that's why I think I've got just about all of Richard's videos, DVDs. I'm just been a huge fan ever since. So.
Oh, bless. Do you know,
no, it was.
I feared that I was going to get emotional today, and I'm sure I will, because what you're saying there, I know we're going to hear it 500 times an hour from people that come on today. Richard, he was God in our world. There's no other way of saying it. And between him and Nancy, they are so gracious. They're so caring, so giving. And everybody you speak to that ever met Richard will say that he was so giving with his time, with anything that he could share with you. There was no secrets. And so thank you so much for coming on. Ellen Ross, can you tell everybody that's watching today your story of when you've met Richard and Nancy? I know that you've been over to Putney a couple of times now.
Yeah.
So tell us more about it.
It was very funny. I was by an American artist magazine, and I saw this painting from Richard, and I thought I would die because I was so impressed with it. So I decided to go, and I saw that they were advertising Albert Handel, the pastel artist, and Richard painting together in the end of a workshop from Albert. So I decided to go into a workshop with Albert, because Richard was going to paint with him in the end of the 5th day. So this is the thing that Richard painted. that day. And that was the beginning of me knowing Richard and Nancy. And then I started, he said to me, at once I met him, I will help you with anything you need. Just come and stay with us and paint with us, and I will help you. So I started learning from both Richard and Nancy, and it has been, it was a change in my artist doing or working, because it was all, when I came out of the academy school for 4 years, the style was only expressionist. Just throw the paint on the table and they said paint, you know. So it was no helping in learning the basics. So I started learning the basics when I went there and bought the Alla Prima books and all the videos and things. So it has been, I think about them every day in a grateful way. It has been so wonderful. Then I went to a few workshops with them, and I met the artist that works there with him, and we got some friends. So I really appreciate all you're doing.
Oh, bless you. Let me, I'm just going to put me back on the spotlight so I'm there with you. You know, I know how much Nancy and Richard adore you and how grateful they were that you made the trips out there, just like I was when you came and did a workshop with us.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. You were also wonderful.
Honestly, you are just such a treat. So thank you so much for coming on. What time is it there for you right now?
It is 4:30
in the night.
Yeah, I woke up at 3. I went very early to sleep so I could be with you all.
Did you feel like it? Does anybody else feel like it was Christmas? I was so excited last night. I couldn't go to sleep, and Joe and I have got like one eye open, one eye closed, and then we just gave up. We were like, right, we're awake.
Yeah, this is so much fun.
Do you know, everybody that's here right now, I know that Nancy's saying it in the back of my ears, is here to celebrate Richard, and that's what we're doing today and this whole weekend. And if anybody just joined us, just know that we've got, well, 23.5 hours left.
Yes.
And
yes.
Tomorrow we've got a great schedule. We've got Michelle Dunaway's going to paint, Jeremy Lipking's going to paint.
Yeah.
Trying to remember all the names. Dan Gerhardt, Daniel Keys, Kwong Ho, shout more, Rose Frantzen. I mean, we've got so many people. Stephanie Birdsall's coming on, Carol Arnold, the Putney Painters, just all to celebrate Richard. And Nancy,
this is so nice because it feels like a family.
It is a family, right? And that's why when I was so nervous when we kicked off, and I'm thinking, thank goodness Colley's on, when you recognize the face. And then you see Kathy, and then I saw Hillary, and now I've seen you, and I'm thinking, this is going to be easy. It's
so nice. It's unbelievable what COVID has given us.
Yes. Yeah. We couldn't have done it without it, right? We wouldn't be online like we are now. So, and this is a way we can touch into everybody. Deborah, I spotted you there. Deborah Gangel, you want to come over? I'm going to ask you to unmute, sweetie. You're painting away there, thinking that we don't notice you in the corner.
Hi.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
I miss you so much. I can't wait to sit back and have a wonderful trip and learn more art.
I know. So tell everybody who you are, where you are, and how you know about Richard.
Well, I happen to live in a town called Youngstown, Ohio, and this is where Richard had his retrospective. It was at the Butler Wick Museum, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful event where he had all of his art. And I was touched by his art way before that, and I purchased his book. And when I was living in California, I was studying with Jeremy and many other painters, and we were all up in Calabasas at this one school. And it was focusing quite intently on learning the skills and techniques that were in the book, were edges and proper form and proper, you know, changing of the light and the dark and the warm and the cool. And so there were just so many things to learn, and it was all in his book. And it was also amazing to not only have that as a resource, but to have many of the people that he taught as our teachers, which was amazing.
Yeah, I know. He was able to touch so many people like that, don't you think? I think there's very few people that could do that in a way that Richard did that, you know?
And I think that many of the people that were influenced by his teachings went on to become teachers. I mean, I think that that was part of his lineage.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you know, it's so funny when we tried to arrange this event, the people that we were trying to get involved were so busy. And I joked with Joe and my mum and said, well, the reason is because they've all got fully fledged careers in art. So they're busy people. And that's what Richard would have wanted, you know? So, yeah, well, thanks so much for coming on, Deb. What are you painting over there?
I'm actually painting Richard.
Oh, can we see it?
Far with it yet, but
oh, brilliant. Yeah, we can just about see it there.
it's just the underpainting at this time, but I hope to make some progress on it.
Oh, great.
Okay.
I can't wait. Are you going to check back in with us later on?
Absolutely.
Yay.
Thank you for doing this, Simi. It's just so wonderful of you.
My pleasure. You know, this is all for Richard and Nancy, and Nancy's going to come online tomorrow morning their time. She's so excited that we've put this together. She is a force, I'm telling you, and she's just brilliant. She's so grateful to everybody that's online and celebrating Richard, and she keeps saying over and over that she wants him to be with us, you know, and us to remember what he taught us and how to be. And, you know, that's what this weekend's all about. So I hope that you get to check in with us tomorrow. I know that some of your favorite painters are going to be on, and if you can't, it's all recorded. But I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. Hi there, you've raised a hand.
Hi, I did. Was it me you're talking to?
Yes, introduce yourself.
I've never done this Zoom before.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say I've never done it either, but if you move your head down a little bit so we can see your eyes, that's it.
Maybe if I bring this up a bit.
Oh, perfect. That's perfect. Tell us, what's your name? Where are you calling from? What time is it there?
It's nearly 6 o'clock and I'm in New Zealand.
Brilliant.
And my name is Sandra White.
Nice to meet you, Sandra. And tell us.
You too, Rosemary. I love your brushes as well.
Thank you. Rosemary's my mum.
Thank you.
Just so you know.
Oh, Rosemary's your mum. Okay,
yeah, that's
right.
Okay. I'm Simi. Rosemary's my mum. Thank you so much. How did Richard influence you? What's brought you here today?
Well, about 5 years ago, my mum passed away, and I decided that at that point I needed to get my art to the next level. I couldn't find any teachers in New Zealand that could get me there, but I did find Richard's books, and I imported the whole lot to New Zealand, and I've read every book cover to cover 3 times, and yeah, they're my Bible as well.
Oh, bless
and
you.
So I spent a whole year studying. Most of those paintings went in the bin until I really felt like I'd got myself to the next level, and really just ready to roll right there and then. Through COVID, I was in lockdown and painted hard out and really felt ready to rumble. And then I met my lovely partner, who's here with tears in his eyes right now. And unfortunately, he has terminal cancer now too. So I'll just show you this. This is a painting. Can you see that?
We can. Beautiful.
You can?
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is a painting that is inspired by the work of Richard. And it's really through Richard that I've been able to paint like this now. So
Beautiful.
This is Michael, who's my partner, who we've been told only has a few months to live now. So I'm caring for him in his home. I'm not in my normal home and I'm not able to paint very easily. But what I am doing is repeating my color charts. I don't know if you can see this.
I can see
but
it.
This
Yeah.
has been incredibly helpful from Richard to learn how to do that. And I've started teaching myself now. And I really stress the importance of doing these charts. So that's why I wanted to come on here and really just pay a tribute to Richard and how much he's changed my life.
Bless you. I want to say on behalf of everyone, thank you for coming on and being so honest.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm more than grateful that you would share that with us. That can't be easy. But what I can tell you is you're probably in the same boat as a lot of people where you feel like Richard's inspired you to paint, to get up in the morning and do what you do because you love doing it. So I'm glad. I know that he'll be looking down now and thinking, thank goodness you're doing your color charts, and so you should be.
Yeah. Michael's pointing to 3 parcels I've just bought from America, which are 3 prints of Richard's to hang when Michael passes away. I'm fortunate enough to be left an inheritance from him, and I'm going to build my dream studio, and Richard's prints will take pride of place on the wall in that studio. And one of them is 3 Sisters, which I love. It's my favorite print, so very excited to get it framed.
Of Michael, that's a beautiful piece. Really,
Thank you.
Are you going to join us throughout the day doing your color charts?
Well, it will be the evening and overnight, but yes, I want to carry on with my charts. I've done a few, so I'm sort of working my way through them. But really, with Michael being unwell and having to help him out a lot, I kind of have to duck in and out. But I do a few lines at a time. Yeah.
I get you. Well, listen, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for talking to me.
It's not even 6 o'clock in the morning here. But join us. We're here for you for the whole next 24 hours or 23 hours and 20 minutes. Not that anybody's counting, but I am, okay? And
thank you so much. And thank you to Nancy. Thank you, Nancy, for getting this all organized. It's amazing. Absolutely. I really appreciate it, and lots of love.
I know that she's going to be so grateful to watch this back and hear you saying what you've said and sharing your words with us. So we hope that you'll join us throughout the day. And remind me again, what was your name?
Sandra White.
Sandra. Okay, Sandra.
Yes.
I shall see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now we have a good friend of mine. I'm going to ask her to unmute, although I will say it's bliss that she's muted for 5 minutes. Johanne Mangi, are you there?
I'm Johanne Mangi. It's really interesting because I'm basically known as an animal painter, but I learned a lot from Richard. I'm one of the Putney painters. I came late to Putney painters, but I'd known Richard since 2010. And when I met him, I actually, when I met him at the Salmagundi Club, he said, "Oh, you should come up and paint with us." And that's how he was. He you know, he was like that. So I had an opportunity to go up there sometimes, you know, and then eventually, I guess I ingratiated myself. But it was, everybody who's up there is just absolutely amazing. And he just was, see, that's the thing, you know, I mean, I paint everything, but even his wife, Nancy, said, you know, I mean, Johanne paints dogs and animals, and it's like, but it was Richard's influence of how I paint those subjects. You know, so there was always something, and he, you know, and the thing that I think is really important is a lot of people regret not having met him.
Right.
But I say, having known him and knowing the books and Alla Prima, that is him. That is in his voice. Actually, my husband is reading Alla Prima too right now, and not at this moment, he's asleep. But he started painting. He has started painting, and he loves that book. He loves that book, and he said, "You're right. This is how Richard talks. This is who he is." So even though people haven't met him, they know him.
Right.
Through his books. He's no different. He's no different. And I think that's an amazing.
Sorry, sweetheart, to cut you off there, but in person, Richard had no ego. I can't tell you how many painters I'm obviously around that have an ego that shouldn't have. And
oh, please.
In a nice way. But I can say it, I'll say it. Whereas Richard was, I mean, the first time I met Richard, he made a beeline for me. I couldn't believe it. And, you know, it was like, I don't know if you remember the retrospective in Denver, when all the plays, all the placemats were put out, and I went, "Kathy, where am I going to sit?" And Richard went, "You're by me." And I'm like, what did I do to get, you know, like, and he just said, "I only want to be around fun people, you know, I only want to be around young, fun people." And I'm thinking, oh, I hope I'm not tired this evening with jet lag. He's expecting me to be really fun.
That was a fabulous weekend. That was really something very special.
Look what he was like there. He made time for absolutely everybody, you know?
Yeah, he did.
It didn't matter how tired he was or how much people wanted to pour their love onto him. He was so grounded, so, you know, so down to earth. I've just noticed a friend of mine, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, Joe, called Matt Ryder.
Oh, yeah.
Great out in Dubai. Matt, are you there? I'm asking to unmute you, Matt. You there?
Yeah, I'm here in Dubai. So yeah, I mean, obviously I've known you for a little while now, and I came across like Alla Prima and Richard's work, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So I used to just paint pretty much anything, and then but I didn't really understand that you could kind of start and finish a painting, I guess, in one session. But that was very suited to the way that I work. So I work quite quickly, but like I didn't know that this was something you could do. And then somebody had put me on, I can't remember who it was, but somebody had put me on to Alla Prima, the book. And then I ordered that, got it delivered here to Dubai. I think I got it for Christmas. I'd asked my wife for it, and got that delivered over here. Read through that, literally cover to cover, went back, started again. I was like, my mind was completely blown. And then I got his landscape book. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think this is something that I'd really like to focus on. And then, yeah, I just got more and more into landscapes, like obviously painting plein air. Really all thanks to, thanks to that Alla Prima book, which was crazy.
And I know that you absolutely adore Daniel Keyes's work, and it's all interlinked. Someone said just before, it's like a family, and it's true, right?
Well, I mean, this is one of the things. So it's like I never. Sorry, I've got my other one who's. Here's the other one. Yeah, so I mean, I never met Richard, right? But like I've studied with through you guys. I've studied with Casey, who studied with Richard. I've studied with Jeremy, who studied with Richard. You know, and I just think that there's this kind of path, like, I don't know, you want to talk about like having a legacy of artists. Like now I teach. Yeah, just 1 second, sweetheart. So now I teach, and I'm teaching obviously some of the lessons that I've learned from these guys who learned from Richard. And now, you know, I'm teaching people here in Dubai, and some of those techniques are coming across to those people who have never painted Alla Prima or that style of painting before. So it's just like, it's an ongoing thing. And I just think, you know, I can't really think of anybody who's had more influence in terms of teaching.
I think it's amazing that you're passing that on to people in Dubai. You know, Americans know about Richard. You know, it's like he's a household name within the art world for us there. It's same in the UK at some point, a lot of people know. But in Dubai, I can guarantee you're one of the pioneers to shout out about what Richard taught you and how you can pass that through. And so I know that Nancy will be so grateful. And Richard would have been too. I know he would. So thank you.
I should also say as well that when I first got my brushes, when I first found out about you guys, because of all of the chatter everywhere, and everyone was like, these guys are amazing, these brushes are the best. I was like, oh, okay. I went onto the website, obviously didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I saw Richard's set, and that's the very first set of, it's the very first brushes I got through you. I just ordered Richard's set because I was like, well, if they work for Richard, you know, why not? So I ordered, it's just like, I think it's packed like 8 or 9 brushes. And that's kind of got what got me started with you guys. But like, again, I mean, talk about influence of even the way that, like, I'd never used a brush that was like, you know, that softer hair. I'd always used kind of firmer hog hair, and then got like the Master's Choice ones, which I didn't know how to use, but I could see what Richard was doing with them, or some of these other guys were doing with them. So I kind of figured out how to do it. And then it's like, yeah, okay, now I understand the benefits of using a brush like this. So yeah, and that was,
say, and I don't want to talk about brushes too much. I honestly can tell you from Mum and I, Richard was so kind to both of us as a company and as 2 businesswomen. Talk about support, talk about trying to push and promote, and just genuinely from a good place in his heart. But that's what he was like across the board. And this is what, you know, whoever I keep pulling into spotlight is saying, if they didn't meet Richard, they feel like they met him through his books. And what Richard gave to the art world was just so giving. But that was what he was like in person too. Jerry's there, I can see him now. There you go. I'm scrambling around for you.
There it goes.
There you go. Yeah.
I have too much paint on my fingers, so I couldn't press it. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, love?
Good.
Tell everybody who you are, where you are, what time it is there, and how you know Richard.
I'm Jerry Salinas. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I also teach at Scottsdale Artist School. Thank you for the kind words. And I remember when Putney Painters was there. That was a great time.
Yeah.
Putney Painters, some of the nicest painters ever to spend time at Richard Schmid. That's a joke. We'll talk about it. All right. How did I meet Richard Schmid? You know what? Actually, it was probably in the 80s at the American Academy of Art when he was living in Chicago. He would come and do demos and do critiques. And I would watch his demos. But the most important thing probably that I saw him do was he did a critique of a young lady that he did a demo about maybe 15 years ago. I forget her name now. She had dreadlocks. He did a demo of her at the Palette and Chisel, but he critiqued her painting, and he was actually very stern about it. I mean, this was a younger Richard Schmid, you know, maybe he was in his 50s or, you know, early 60s, but it was talking about observation. He was talking about how she was painting the street scene down Michigan Avenue, and she got the light sources wrong, the stoplights, you know, because it's like what, green, yellow, and red, but she kind of flipped them, and that stuck with me. That you gotta observe, look and observe. If you're painting from life, really look at it, and you'll get it. Just paint what you see, and then when you get better, then you can get creative.
Right. And I'm right in thinking you spent a lot of time painting at the Palette and Chisel, right?
Oh yeah, I was there at the Palette and Chisel quite a bit. I painted with Clayton Beck. I think you'll be talking with him. And then Ramel De La Torre. I consider Ramel one of my mentors and a great friend. Same thing with Clayton. But I wasn't painting there when Schmid was. I kind of went after. And people talk about Schmid's generosity, But I think the true generosity of Schmid is the people that he taught. They are so giving. And I knew Ramel and Clayton and Scott Burdick and Sue Lyon. You would ask them a question because they were spending time with Schmid, they would answer it. They never held back. And I think that's a big part of Richard's, and Nancy too. That's a big part of their generosity is they got that from Richard. They saw that he was generous with them, so he was generous with us. And I always appreciate that. And I try to be generous with anybody. If they ask me a question, you know, whatever you want to know, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, are you painting right now?
Yeah, I'm painting right now.
Can we see what you're doing?
Let me flip this. There we go.
There you go. Beautiful. Are you in your studio in Arizona right now, Jerry?
Yes.
Wait. Home in for us a little bit. Go a little closer.
First layer.
Beautiful.
Just do what Richard says in alla prima. You'll be fine. Don't question it. You'll question it later on in your life, but don't question it. Just do it. Squint and compare.
I was going to say, I know that you've studied Richard's paintings and you've read his books cover to cover. Can you tell us some of the most cherry-picked gems that you find from his books, you know?
Well, probably one of the, okay, here's the thing about Richard Schmid. Probably,
flip your camera.
and he even has it on his website. He has samples of this. Yes?
Jerry, flip your camera for me.
Oh, yeah. He has samples on his website of the pages about squinting and how to squint. And it's on his website, and he even says it. And maybe you don't want to hear this because I would say buy the book because there's so much more information. But he says, here's the most important information that you get from this book. And he puts it on there for free. And if you read it, you could download those pages and study it. But it's clearer on the book. But that's how generous he is. He's like, this is it. It's squinting and comparing, squinting and seeing your lights and your darks, your lights and your shadows. Which values, which shapes, which darks, which lights, which midtones come together. I mean, he says it on that website. It's a freebie, and if you can't afford the book, at least do that because he did it for a reason, probably. Because like we talk about his generosity, there's a big part of it right there, Yeah. So hopefully that's still there. That's still up.
If it isn't, everybody's going to be hunting you down, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? Hey, you can borrow my book. I don't care,
Oh, bless you. Do you have any stories about meeting Richard in person?
Well, you know what? Years ago when he did a demo at the Palette, might be over 20 years ago now, it was that young lady with the dreads. I forget her name. She's a really good painter. And the people who know Schmid from the 80s, there was a video there. She was called like the Banana Girl because she was painting some bananas at the Palette and Chisel in that video from the 80s. But I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, that's Richard Schmid. He walked in and I had my head turned away and he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, hey, I'm Richard Schmid. And I'm like, okay, he introduced himself to me because I guess I was being shy and it's like, it was kind of an honor, because to me, he's, that's like you being in a room and John Singer Sargent's there and he comes to you and he says, hey, I'm John Singer Sargent or Soroya or, or Nikolai Fechin. It's pretty amazing.
This is so much fun. Is everybody having a good time?
I was just going to tell you about a little trip we took to the Philadelphia Art Museum for the Antonio Mancini show. And I was with the Putney Painters. I was always a guest of the Putney Painters. And part of it is because I helped organize these workshops at the Landgrove Inn in Vermont. And I've been doing it, well, my parents are from Vermont and it's the most gorgeous place. But so I connected with Kathy in Vermont. And then we went to this trip to Philadelphia to see the Mancini show. the thickness of the paint was really remarkable. I'd never seen such thick paint. And when you stood from a distance, it all melded together. And what Richard was saying was, you're not painting the thing. You have to get over painting the thing. It's the relationship of the things. And, you know, that's a really simple way to put it, but it's a really hard concept that I had to struggle with. But I feel like the more I thought about it, the more it's kind of like it melded. It's taken years, but it's starting to meld. So I've never given up, but that was, I don't know if anybody's seen the Mancini paintings. They're just, he gridded them out, and sometimes he left the string on it. And Richard just, he loved his work, Mancini. And I bought one of the catalogs from the Philadelphia Art Museum, and now apparently it's out of print and it's very valuable. So
yeah, I've been to that. I went to that Mancini show. I went with Ramel de la Torre. Of course, he was a student of Schmid, and just the amazing work of Mancini. And you could see that Schmid has been inspired by him. And I think even, does he mention it in one of his books? Maybe one of the older books from the 70s. He mentions Mancini, but you could see the inspiration, you know. But you were very lucky to go to the show. You went to the show with Richard.
I went
Schmid?
with Richard and Nancy and the Putney painters, and yeah, it's great. And I have the book.
That's awesome.
Everybody signed the book. It was, yeah, and I keep it on my bookshelf. I had it at school, and one of my friends is like, "Don't leave it on the shelf; it'll disappear."
Yeah.
So
I bought like 4 of those and gave them away as gifts, and they got up to like $500.
Yeah, they're very valuable now. Yeah.
Yeah. When you were with Richard at the show, did he mention any other influences?
Fortuny was another one he loved.
Oh, wow.
And when you look at Fortuny's little red spots, like he just walks your eye around the paintings. And so that resonated with him as well. But really what attracted me to Richard's work originally was because I went to high school at Northfield Mount Herman. It's right down the road from Putney. And all of a sudden I'd be seeing these paintings of Brattleboro, Vermont, which is kind of a nowhere town if you're in prep school. The biggest attraction was Dunkin' Donuts, really, hitchhiking for Dunkin' Donuts. And I was just blown away by the poetry of Vermont, New England, Brattleboro, these old New England houses. They have a certain sadness, charm, you know, like sort of a poetry in a house of times gone by. And I really connected with that. His early, before he moved for the taxes. I know why everybody moves to New Hampshire for the taxes. You know, if you're from New England, everybody knows that you got to get out of the high taxes.
Let me just add, Matt Ryder, you're on the spotlight there. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Just listening to everybody talking about taxes, and I'm like, I live in Dubai, so I can't get away with that. So
I was thinking
that's not why I moved here, but
Hillary, if you didn't know, they pay no tax in Dubai.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'll let you guys carry on.
You know, one thing we always discuss about Richard Schmid is what is he a master of? Is it landscapes? Is it the figure? Is it portraits? Is it water scenes? Is it still lifes, flowers? I mean, he's one of those rare artists that he's just the master at everything when you look at his artwork. And you're like, oh, wow, you know, and because if you just took one segment of his subject matter, say just his flowers of, you know, that's what he did more recently before he passed. you would say he's the master of flowers, you know, or if you took his portraits, you would say he's the master of the portrait, you know. Just amazing. It's amazing his ability. And you know what? You don't see that with a lot of painters right now.
Obviously, I've seen lots and lots of high resolution images of it, and I have his books, and you know, I'll even get the magnifying glass out and just kind of go in. It's like, how has he done this? But one thing I've never done is see any of it in person, which one day I certainly hope to do.
I was lucky enough to see in Oklahoma, his dealer, is it Jody? She had some like some collage boxes that he did. He was doing more contemporary artwork. They're like kind of like Joseph Cornell boxes that had items in like plastic lucite boxes. You know, it just tells you that he's always experimenting. It wasn't just realism, but he was trying some different things. I mean, because I own an early drawing of his, and when I look at it, I'm like, God, he's so young, and yet he still had it there. You could still see the person he was going to develop into was already there. It's just he had to develop it a little bit more.
When Richard started painting, I mean, I guess he just did it all his life, right? But do you know if there was a subject that he would have? I mean, obviously he ended up being a master of everything, but do you think it was more the figure, the portrait, or he started with landscapes, or it just kind of started all in one go?
You know what? I think he just, you know, they're going to talk to some of the people who spent a lot of time with him, and Nancy could answer that too. But if you look at his work, it's like he did figures in the 70s, maybe in the late 60s, 70s, and he just mastered it. And he's like, all right, let me move on to the next thing. I'm bored. You know, also that dealer in Oklahoma, she owned a full, I think it was a full-size nude that he did of his wife, and the painting is just amazing. If you see it, you guys would be blown away. And actually, the Putney painters would remember, I think it was at Legacy Gallery when the Putney painters were there, they brought it in. So that time that the Putney painters were teaching at Scottsdale Artist School, they got to see it. But this painting was just, you know, it was just like, wow. So he could just do anything. And why isn't he doing more of this? It's because he did it already. You know, you move on to the next thing.
Hi, Vicky. So lovely.
Hello. Nice to see you, Simi. Nice to see you.
You too. How are you doing?
I'm very well. It's I'm in Australia, and it is 4:16 here. And just as I came on, I noticed that my one of my painting teachers, Fiona Bilborough, is on as well, and I can see her up the top window. Hey. And Fiona introduced me to Richard Schmid and Alla Prima. Hello everyone. Hello Fiona.
Hi Vicky. Hello everybody. Thanks for this opportunity. I was going to say thank you very much for the opportunity, and lovely to see you here, Vicky. We're all kindred spirits and all connected by this language, which I would say is called Richard Schmid's language.
Yes, the language of paint, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Fiona, thank you so much. You were the person who introduced me to Richard Schmid's Alla Prima book.
Yeah.
And I also had to show a few years ago, Nancy Guzik put out a call for artists to make a card and surprise Richard, sending him cards from all around the world. And so I made a little card and sent it off for his 80th birthday. And I just fished out my reply because I actually got, I actually got a reply. So I'm just putting it up. That's a card from Richard, and he signed it there. So I've kept it as a memento, thanking me for my card. And, you know, my wish is that you find and express joy and meaning in your art. The world needs your ideas and thoughts now more than ever. And that really sums up Richard, doesn't it? You know? So yeah. I just thought I'd show that. And I looked at the date and it was 2015. So that was his 80th birthday in 2015. So yeah, it's a big loss to the world, but he gave so much while he was here.
I can add a
I'm
little,
crying.
bless you, Vicky. I can add a little story to that. I was lucky enough to be invited with my mum to Richard's 80th. And we flew over to Putney, and Richard and Nancy had arranged for a meal for a bunch of people. A lot of Putney painters were there and a lot of friends and family. And as a surprise, we printed on the handle of the brush 80 years a master. And Richard was walking around giving them out as favours throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I remember Nancy bringing only some of the cards and the presents that Richard received. And if I couldn't tell you there were thousands, I mean thousands. And Richard announced to everybody, what we did is we emptied the mail sacks on him, and there's pictures somewhere where he's like, and we're all stood there and we're all holding them up, you know. And Richard, he said, I will personally thank every single person that wrote to me. And that's Richard, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was amazed to get a hand signed, card back. That just blew me away. So it's a bit of a treasure. I'm keeping it as a treasure.
Do the right thing there. Like Ellie was saying, you know, anything like that, I think it's so special that you keep it, and you know, it's the memories. But it's more than that to me, was that he would take the time to personally correspond with people. You know, that's Jerry just said it before, you know, he sat there in total awe as if it was John Singer Sargent walks in the room, and Richard goes over to Jerry and says, hi, I'm Richard.
Yeah.
Hi, Jerry.
That's right. Great memory.
I'd just like to let you know, I actually was introduced to about Richard by my teacher, John Balmain. And I don't know how many people have got copies of these beautiful books, but I've got these two books, Richard Schmid Paints the Figure and Richard Schmid Paints the Landscape. And so I was introduced by John Balmain back about 1990. And I didn't realise back then the degree of influence he was going to have over my work and other Australian artists. I'm part of a group called the 20 Melbourne Painters Society. And our group represents traditional tonal impressionism. So the methods that we work with over here in Australia often follow the Max Meldrum methods of casual observation. But I must add, one of the later books of Richard's, the one Alla Prima, the big one, I actually use this one almost like my Bible for when I'm teaching. It's the language in it is easy to understand by even the most novice painter, but I think it's the expressions he uses that relate to the average person who's not necessarily a painter yet. So a page that one of my favorite pages in the whole book, I make sure that I read to every single student that's ever walked into my studio, and it's page 9. Good ideas and free advice in chapter 1, and it's the paragraph about talent. And I think it's a great leveler. So
Jared, but before you do, Fiona, I just want to say I've added Anne to our spotlight. Anne says that she was one of Fiona's students and the person that introduced her to Richard. So hi, Anne, and welcome.
Hi, everyone.
And Anne, where are you calling us from?
I'm from Melbourne.
So you're over in Melbourne right now?
Yes.
We're all in lockdown.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way, coming from the UK, boy, do I understand what a lockdown means. You know, we get it. I'm sorry. At least we can be together today. We're so grateful that you're all on. How brilliant is this? Nancy is going to be beside herself that we are reaching out to people the other side of the world, you know, and it's 7:20 in the morning here. I have no idea what time it is for you.
It is 4:24
In the afternoon.
in the
Yes.
afternoon. Yes.
That's crazy. Okay, Fiona, share with us what you were going to share. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Okay. Talent. Don't bother about whether or not you have it. Just assume that you do, and then please forget about it. Talent is merely one of those convenient words like gifted or endowed that we use after someone has become accomplished. There is simply no way to detect it before the fact or when someone is still grappling with the learning process. It is impossible to predict when or if mastery will click into place. The only time we can be comfortably sure about high skill is when we finally go to Carnegie Hall and hear our little cousin Charlie play the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto for the second time. The first time might have been an accident. The exceptional skill we label as talent is not a single capability. It's a complex mixture of motive, curiosity, receptivity, intelligence, perception, sensitivity, expert teaching, perseverance, problem-solving skills, timing, sheer luck, and countless other things. If any part of it is genetic, divinely endowed, the result of astrological fiddle-faddle, fate, or destiny, that part is not the sole determining factor. All the other ingredients must be present in the right combination, and no one knows the exact recipe. Artistic skill, the ability to draw well and make paint behave, which I love that expression, is not a natural endowment like big blue eyes or great legs, nor is it a special knack you simply have or do not have, like a green thumb, a natural sense of rhythm, or surgeon's hands. Those things are nonsense too. Neither does it matter whether your parents, grandparents, or any of your ancestors were artists, except insofar as they may have motivated you, taught you, or served as role models. You can learn the skills required for painting in the same way that you can learn anything else you are strongly drawn to. I don't mean to understate the difficulties, however. The great painters devoted their lives to their art, often to the point of total obsession. Serious painting is not something that can be learned casually. You must be willing to sacrifice many other things. So don't waste time worrying if you are talented, and don't blame any failures on the lack of it. That's the ultimate cop-out.
Can I ask you then, when did you first hear of Richard?
Well, it was when my teachers, about 1995, when I was exposed to these books. But back then, my teacher, John Balmain, he didn't really discuss Richard to a great degree with me. I don't think he met him, but I know he referred to the works in Richard's books constantly, and I just wished he was alive now and he'd been able to see the Bible of Alla Prima, because the language that I read in Alla Prima is the language that John Balmain passed down to me. And he being a direct pupil of Max Meldrum, I've read The Science of Appearances many times, and Richard's version is the simplified version of Max Meldrum's his language is a little bit, Max Meldrum's language is a little bit too sophisticated for the beginner painter. And whereas Richard's everyone can relate to what Richard says. Right. Now, on guard, keep it simple. Just everything that it doesn't matter what page I open to, I can provide inspiration to students that walk in the door, even if they don't know what they want to paint on the day. We soon generate an interest in portrait, still life, landscape. It's a fantastic starting point.
Anne, can you hear us there?
Yes, I say that it's lovely to see Fiona, because I haven't seen her for 2 years.
Oh.
And I thank you very much for organizing this event. And it's just so lovely to see everyone around the world. And I was introduced to Alla Prima 2 by Fiona also. So I got a book. So I read the book sometimes when I, like every page, and when I open it, I always want to like touch the brush and paint it.
Guess who I have just spotted? I hope she won't kill me, but I've just seen Rose.
Yay!
Where did she go? I swear I saw her. Rose, make yourself known.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Jerry. I just heard you announce yourself, Jerry. Good to see you.
Good to
What
see
time-
you.
What time is it in Arizona?
It's 12. It's 12:15.
At night, right?
Yeah.
Ah, good for you.
But it's
Paint
Friday night. I
Jerry.
would have been out anyway. So.
What's that girl have hanging out of her head there?
I just took it off online. I guess she's like maybe a Southeast Asian type. Here's the reference there. She has something on her. She has the necklace, and just churning this out, as you can see, as quickly as I can.
Very nice, Jerry. Very nice.
Thank you.
Hi, Ellen Rose. Good to see you.
Rose, can I ask, can you introduce yourself? Tell us, firstly, your name. Then can you tell us where you are and what time it is? And then I think most people know who you are, but if they don't, can you tell them how you know Richard?
My name's Rose Frantzen, and I met Richard in 1986 or 87, 86. And I'm really good friends with Nancy Guzik, and she told me that I had to learn how to paint from this guy named Richard. So I started working with Richard the palette and chisel. We're like one of the early people that discovered this genius sitting amongst us, this brilliant, loving human being sitting amongst us. So, I mean, is that good? Is that what you want, Simi?
Yeah,
It's
that was perfect.
it's about 11 minutes to 2 here in Iowa. I'm out here in a small town in the Midwest.
What I'm going to do, Rose, is I'm going to spotlight you, and if you can share anything, the first time you met Richard, or
well, since Nancy's not on the call, I have to tell you the first time I went swimming with Richard. Right, we were down in Oklahoma. He introduced us to a gallery called the Talisman Gallery in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. He had a good friend named Jody Kerberger who sold a lot of his paintings. And when we were this is probably 1987, he introduced us as his little group of, I don't know, fowlers. And she started carrying all of us, like a whole bunch, everybody that you guys know, Scotty, Nance, Susan Lyon, you name it, she carried all of us in the early days. And Jody had a swimming pool. And I'll never forget seeing Richard in a swimming suit. Now he's only 50 at this time. So hardly anybody knows him, but he was so long and lanky and skinny, right? Like he had his arms seemed to go on forever, which is probably how he could just, paint. But anyway, I remember teasing him fiercely about being long and lanky and kind of sexy. And it was just so funny because he giggled like a little schoolboy. And I don't know if anybody really got to see, since Nancy's not on the call, anybody really got to see how Richard was just kind of sort of so gentle and shy and sort of would be bashful in sort of that situation. Now, listen, I was scared to death of him just a year earlier, right? Because he was this brilliant painter that everybody loved. But just a year into the whole hanging out with him, it was long enough. He was just that kind of guy that you could start to tease, And so I had a pretty good time. So I remember that. I remember him jumping into the pool and all that business. I mean, who would think Richard Schmid even had a swimming suit?
It's like your teacher at school. You don't think that they have another name. They have to.
That's right.
Robinson, right?
Yeah. I was 20, so you still did have that kind of, that sort of pedestal thing. Although the thing I really love about Richard is that he wasn't really when we were hanging out with him, he didn't really take to a pedestal. He was interested in kicking that pedestal from underneath of him and being a real human being. And I think there was something very fortunate for us as young artists to be around a human being like that, and be a master painter who didn't believe in being like that. And I think that's why I think Scotty and Nancy and stuff, why we try to be accessible to people is because that's how Richard was for us, you know? And it just, I just love that. I mean, that's like such a great model, you know, a role model in that way. You know what I mean?
Can you share anything about when you were of an age where you hung out with and the nerves with Sue and Scott and Nancy and what it was like growing up in the art world with them at that time?
With all of those guys?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is maybe good for everybody that might be on the call. I'm going to take that assumption, but what we did was we built off of each other's successes. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you learn representational painting, there's actually things that you learn, right? There's things that you didn't know on Monday that you might learn on Friday. And I'm shortening that timeline, but there's like a progression. Like you don't know exactly how to paint skin color, or you don't know how to turn form, or you don't know what a soft edge is, right? And so when somebody in our little group would learn it, you know, maybe this week Scotty learned something ahead of Nancy or me or Dan or anybody else, or Clayton or whomever, right? Then a few weeks later, because we were so close to each other in skill level and time on behind the brush, we would pick up that new information. It was sort of like the monkeys washing the rocks in the island, right? You know, the one that takes the sand and figures it out, and then all of a sudden all the monkeys on the island don't already, now they wash the sand off the rocks so they don't, you know what I mean, or use the stick. It was sort of like that, but it was just it was such a beautiful way to actually learn, by being being each other's stair step up, and actually having a kind of relationship that would allow that too, you know, that you took, just that we didn't have competition between each other, but it was more like we cared more about learning to paint and everybody learning at the same time than we learned about one being more successful than anybody else. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? It was really it was a great opportunity. It was a great experience, you know.
You know, I think you can tell that with that group of people that you've just named, though, because you all are at a level where you just elevated up and up and up, and it shows.
Yeah, I think it's important to actually work with artists that are a little bit better than you. You know, it was like, I think one of the things I remember saying is, don't be the best artist in the room, you know, because then that'll improve your game. In the representational field, I mean, it's a different thing when you start asking with what you're saying about your work, you know, that's another game. I'm just talking about learning how to paint, you know. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the best person in the room. You want to be around people who are actually teaching you something all the time. Yeah. You know, at least that's some of my advice.
Well, who are you hanging out with now?
Chuck.
You'd be pretty much the best person in the room. Yeah. Okay. Right? I said you'd be pretty much the best person in the room, so I don't know who you're hanging out with anymore.
You know, there is something, I'm not going to say that I'm the best person in the room, but I will say this. I remember Richard actually saying this when we were younger. He wanted people to get better so he could talk his art questions with people, right? Like he felt a little lonely, like there were things that he was struggling with and he didn't know who he could actually break it apart with, who he could dissect what his issues were or struggles that he was having with painting. Because you get to a level and there's people who a lot of people aren't able to talk the language that you're talking at those places. Mm-hmm. And I'll say that then there's also this problem that, at least for me, that I experienced, your ego gets in the way and you you know there's something wrong with your painting, but you can't bear to have somebody tell you, you know, and you just have to check that at the door. And if you really want to be a great artist, you have to, or do great work, you have to check that out, and you take that criticism and learn from another person's eyes or another person's experience, you know.
Yeah.
But that's a challenging place. I mean, who could critique Richard? Do you know what I mean? Who could critique Richard? Who are his peers, you know? Nelson Shanks, you know, maybe some, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he probably didn't hang out with those guys. You know, I think it could be lonely like that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you not think though, and I'm just posing the question, I don't know the answer. That's why he adored his students so much, because he wanted to pour that into you guys, to elevate and lift you up, so that you were surrounded with him and there wasn't this and this, and that how he was able to overflow and share, it would trickle.
I think, you know, I think there was a lot of wisdom there that I was just too young to understand. Yeah, I understand it now. You know, I'm the same age now as when I knew Richard, you know, and I get it. I get what he was doing. You know, he wanted people who could speak his language. He wanted to be surrounded with a community. And, you know, it's like another lesson that he taught us, you know, build a community, surround yourself with a community, have people who love what you love around you, and just, you know, I don't know, foster the joy of it.
Right.
I mean, he did, you know, he did it with us, and then he moved to Colorado and did it with the Loveland group, and then he moved to Putney and did it with all those folks there. I mean, he knew that that's what he needed. And for me, I'm like insanely grateful, one, for that impression, and two, as somebody who received so much from him, I'm just so grateful that he had people who loved him around him for all those decades, you know, all these people. It's just, you know, that's what you would want I think that's what I'd want for everybody that's on this video, personally.
Bear with me. I'm gonna try and find Deb. We checked in on Deb. I've got Deb. Deb, are you there?
Hi, I'm Deborah Gangel. I'm currently in Ohio. I was in California for a long time and studied with many of the artists that also studied with Richard, and I'm so very grateful.
Can you show us, Deb, the painting that you're working on, and let's see how you're getting on?
Well, okay.
Come on, it's beautiful. So Deb was at the blocking stage when we first came on.
I'm just going real slow about it.
Is there any way you can move your camera? Yeah, you're on it.
Sure. It's Richard. Oh, he's coming out. He's emerging. But I have a lot of work to do on it.
Rose, did you see that?
But I'm still doing a lot of work on the details and getting
That's a great start.
the right values and taking my time with the form.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. It's going well.
I'm trying to find a likeness, so that's why I'm just a little bit more.
Well, let me just say, you do have the likeness already, just so you know. That's already there, you know. It's really good.
To loosen up and soften things after I'm pretty sure where I'm at.
Fair enough. So are you working from one area out and moving from there?
Yes, I was trying to make sure that I got the values correct, because it was so two different paintings on each side of his face.
Yeah, let me look at that. Could you move it back to your painting for a second?
Sure. Here's.
Do you mind me looking at it for a second?
Oh no, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
So you're saying there's two different values in the sense. Could you explain that a little more clearly? Are you talking about the background? Are you talking about the value structure is going great on his face, actually. I see that now.
We have some, dark warms in here.
Fair enough.
And it goes down into even darker values here.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, you are getting it right. You know, one of the things.
I've been a little tentative.
Yeah, well, let me tell you one of the tricks if you were trying to be a little bit looser. One of the tricks you could utilize is, there's a safe place. I wish you could see my mouse. I'm sort of circling part of your painting right now. A really safe place to put a good strong dark would be on his shoulder, wouldn't it? Because it's not by his head, it's not by the business. And if you put that value in there, maybe drop down just a little bit from the outside of the up the highest edge, just drop down a little bit and put a nice, good, clean dark there. All right. And then you would know everything is lighter than that. Do you know what I mean? So you put in your dark as an indication in a safe place, far away from where your business is. And the business would be the likeness and the portrait of his head, just to key your values on your dark side. Do you see what I mean, Deb? Have you heard of that idea before?
Yes, and thank you for the reminder, because I was going to do kind of like a very quick brush stroke down there and just make it much looser on the bottom.
Fair enough.
But I would like to take your advice and put it in there now.
Go for it. I think everybody would like to see that. Put it in a safe place.
I have to get rid of this white here because that's throwing everything off, and then darken the background.
Yeah. Scotty Burdick would say on that, you've got it really drawn really well. Your blocking is looking really good. Your light washed transparent blocking is looking really good. You could just put some of that value on that shadow side of his beard in too. But I'm always one who always leaves my white beard to the end, so I shouldn't throw stones. But yeah, I would go for that value of that shoulder.
Okay, great.
We have a question for you, Rose. You opened it up so people are asking. I hope you don't mind.
That's all right.
Hi, Rose. I tend to paint very tight. What are your tips to paint loose?
There's lots of different ways to paint a little bit looser, but maybe since this is just an abstract question for me right now and not in something specific to a specific painting, I would just recommend painting something like that without caring so much. Do you know what I mean? So let's say you go and you paint a simple still life, couple 3 objects, right? And you experience it in your tight nature. Go ahead and paint it the way you would paint it normally and experience it tight. Take that painting, finish it out, feel great about it, study those objects, and then take it and put it to the side and say, now I'm going to do it in like the simplest shapes possible with the least amount of brush strokes and start from there. And then just see, oh, maybe it needs just a little bit more, instead of actually starting with thinking it needs to go all the way to what you're seeing, to abstracting it to simpler shapes sooner. Do you know what I mean? And sort of seeing what you can get away with, and it still looks like it is like it's what it needs. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you got to get the one that you're used to out of your system and then try it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, have it not be so safe or so sacred or so precious. That's a really good way, Sometimes I paint a painting 2 or 3 times. And the first time in more skittish and a little more delicate. And then I just put that canvas aside, now do it again and see what I like to say, see what I can get away with, with not putting it in there, that's just a one way. But there's specific things when you're actually working with somebody in a class that you can sort of see on how to loosen up, like, I said something about painting. Scotty Burdick used to, definitely painting the big shapes and getting those big shapes and finding them and moving from there is a really good way to be a little looser, because sometimes it's what holds me back might be my drawing. It really depends. I guess when I'm working with somebody, I can kind of see what might be making them tense up a little bit. Then it's good to see what can be softened from that place, like more to the person. It's hard to talk about something like that in an abstract in a way,
Right.
but how do I care? How do I care, but care a little less, you know? Or how do I decide it's a good time to just play, you know? Can I just say, can I just find the part in me that just wants to see what paint does, or what this fun brush does, you know, and let that paint the painting. Do you know what I mean? Instead of trying to make a product. Do you see? I think I'm kind of saying the same thing, but I'm just turning that prism around a little bit in a couple of different ways.
I've got a great painter I want to introduce you to, Rose. I'm going to spotlight Matt Ryder here, and I'll ask Matt. I don't
Watching his painting.
Matt, are you muted or are you unmuted?
I don't think I'm muted. I don't. You'll know because you'll just hear my kids shouting. So
I can hear you.
I don't think. Okay, great.
Matt's joining us, Rose, from over in Dubai right now.
Oh my!
Which
Yeah.
is awesome. A Brit over in Dubai. And yeah, he's been painting. Did you start this when you first started on the call with us, Matt?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Speedy McGreedy.
Yeah. Well, it's something about that kind of direct painting method that somebody had mentioned. Yeah. So it's just trying to make the right choices with every brushstroke, isn't it? It doesn't always work, obviously, but yeah, that's how we can get these done quite quickly.
Yeah, you're doing really well.
Thank
Very
you.
nice. Are you looking at roses right now, Matt?
So this is actually from a photo that I took in my studio last week. So I had some lovely O'Hara roses, which I got last week. I actually did 2 paintings of them in the studio last week from life. But they took a turn and now they're no longer with us. But thankfully, I got some really nice photos of them before they went. Yeah, so I had this lovely kind of panoramic panel, which I actually made it myself, and it was perfect for what I wanted to do. Yeah, so it is from a photo, but it's like, because I painted these twice already last week, I'm able to remember the color a little bit better. Like the photo I have is okay. It's a little bit washed out, so I'm just trying to push a little bit of color into it.
Yeah, that's great. No, it helps to have that experience from looking from life and then pulling it off. Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I like the composition already, so it's looking great.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Are you yeah, since it's the photo, you don't have to worry about changing the placement of those roses as they're dying or anything, but it looks really good, Matt.
Thanks. So there's one more rose that's going to come in here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then it's just, this will be pretty abstract, but I do want to paint this. Like I absolutely love how Richard would just leave the canvas, you know, but I try to do it sometimes, but I always just end up kind of pushing to a higher finish, I guess, on the backgrounds and stuff. But I do like to leave some unfinished elements, but yeah, he was just a master, wasn't he, of just being able to just say, right, that's done, let's just carry on over here. And yeah. There's a lot more tinkering and faffing that I will do.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem. I mean, it is an interesting question about, you know, exploring a painting like that, you know, like when you can just let that vignette or that sort of abstract background take off. But I'm starting to respect the idea that I keep wanting to try to do something in there, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just the way you roll, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, sometimes people do things and we can just sit back and applaud it, and we ourselves do something just different, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that when you do it, I bet it's beautiful, you know? Otherwise you wouldn't keep working on it.
Well, when we look at your work, you know, you're so masterful at also just leaving like so many abstract elements in there. It's really inspiring. So I love your work.
Oh, that's nice. Well, you know, I think I do it because I run out of time.
Right. Yeah. I've got 2 minutes to do the whole this, right? Let's see how abstract we can go.
And see what it can do, you know. In fact, that would be another good answer to that question. Somebody said, how do you loose, right? Well, say you only have this much time to do that part, And what's the simplest way of saying what you feel needs to be said?
Nice to meet you all.
Simma,
I'm happy to be here.
tell us where you're calling from right now.
Where you call? Oh, I'm Iran and from Tehran.
Are you in Tehran?
What?
You're calling us from Tehran.
Tehran, yeah, the capital of Iran.
Simma, tell us, how did you learn about Richard Schmid?
How I wrote something about him, and I would like to read from my written for you.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, thank you. But I don't know where it is.
Don't worry.
Okay. Finish. Oh, I found it. Here. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to appreciate dear Nancy for this gift she gave us. Then I want to thank Richard and her again for all the favors they did for me. I feel we are friends, and I love this friendship so much. I should mention I'm so glad for this opportunity which is given to me. Participating in this event also give me this chance to admire my teacher, Alireza Asanlu, who cares a lot about his students, especially me, to introduce us the great artist Richard Schmid using different ways, like his artworks, his films, and other things. Richard was a blessing in this world, and his art was an inspiration for so many artists, I believe. I believe he brought peace and love and beauty to our lives.
Yeah.
And his absence is a huge loss, because I think I lost a friend. And at the end, thank you all for holding this event and letting me to be a part of it.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
beautiful. I gotta wipe my tears. That's just so lovely. That's
Me
so
too.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Simma. It's so important for us to remember that art brings everybody together.
Yeah.
Thank you. For us today to be online with you, we all have one language.
Yeah, we do all have one language, huh?
You know?
I will say it meant so much to Richard and Nancy that people in Iran found him, right? That they could learn from him, that he could have relationships with people in Tehran and Iran. I mean, it just, remember I was talking about that tickle and that laugh and that chuckle? It just delighted him to know that people in all these places all over the world were able to begin to experience what he found so much joy in. I mean, I remember going out there and they were talking about it. Rosie, these people in Iran. It's just fabulous.
Exciting.
You know? So this is so beautiful. What a lovely tribute. I think Nancy will be crying so much, Simma, when she hears what you just read. I think, you know, you just gave her something back, and boy, this is really what we want to do here, is we want to give Nancy all the love in the world, don't we? And Richard, you know, oh, so that's wonderful.
You know, I want you to know, I'm sorry.
Honey.
You just have to give me 1 minute.
Sorry.
It's all right. All right. Yeah.
In the last maybe 4 months, I spoke to Nancy nearly every day, and every conversation, Simmer, goes like this: we laugh, we cry,
Yeah,
we cry, you know. And Nancy always says, "There's Richard is with us, and he will want us
he always,
you know, he wants us to laugh." And Nancy's mission is we never forget.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And Simmer, how old are you?
I'm 29.
Nice.
Mission achieved, you know. we have somebody under 30 who loves Richard, that will carry it forward, and you can't ask for more than that, right?
Right.
I'm right, Rose?
Yep, you're really right. You know.
Oh, Simmer, you've killed us.
Thank you.
Oh, Rose, we weren't expecting that, were we?
I have to say though, when we talk about Richard, I feel under 30. Do you know what I mean? When we talk about the time and learning from him, you don't age when you hold a brush in your hand. You know what I'm saying? It keeps you young. It keeps you alive. It keeps your vision. It keeps your heart in the game so much. You know, it's just, so what a great thing we all get to do. What a great thing we get to do.
So I can see Adriano from Switzerland. Am I allowed to spotlight you? Give me a thumbs up or down if you're okay with it. You're good with it. Great. Okay, add to spotlight, and I'm going to ask to unmute you.
Here we go.
We've
Hello.
got you.
Hi guys.
I think I recognize you. I'm sure I met you.
Exactly.
I do.
2018. Thanks for remembering that.
No, bless you. I met you there. We were at, were we in Putney? No.
No, it was Vermont. It was the event for Richard, once again, organized by Kristen.
Yes.
You might recall that.
I remember the retrospective in
Exactly.
Vermont.
Exactly. It was the day Nikki did the demo at the time.
Yeah. We went for an Italian meal in the evening. I think it was Italian.
Exactly. Yes, you got a special present that day, if you remember. At the end of the event, you got a special present from Richard. I think you might recall that.
He gifted me. Yeah, Richard gifted me a painting that he did of me.
Exactly.
At that event, which
can't forget that.
How can you, right?
God.
There's Richard and how giving he is. So listen,
Exactly.
I can see what's on your easel a little bit. Rose, can you see that?
I'm trying to. Let me share.
It's a little hard to see, but I can kind of see it. Oh, I have it on. I have them on gallery view, so I'm watching all the painters at once.
All right. There you go.
Oh my God, is it Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Look at you. Nice.
So we'll see at the end how it turns out.
Oh, look at you. Who's next to him?
Is it
you might exactly. You might recall the so the reference picture is the one from his video actually. There you go.
Oh, good for you. Got
That's
it.
the one. That's the one. So the whole thing would be about the idea of the two of them being together once again now. You know, I love that.
Right.
I love
That's
that.
Really sweet. That's really sweet, Adriano.
I'm not very sure, but I think that they were really good friends. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that's what comes out from the video. At
It
least.
does, doesn't it?
There you go. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they were best friends.
there you go. So okay. So
Very
And
nice.
I'm emotional because tomorrow we have a beautiful video of Richard in Putney, and it finishes. Can you remember the quote that we put at the end of the video?
Well, you have to watch it.
We have to wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's okay. I will wait.
Okay. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
There you go.
It's beautiful. So tell us now we have you here and you're online.
Thank
Tell
you.
us where you met Richard. I know I spoiled it a little bit by remembering you. But tell
that's
us where
okay.
you met Richard and why. I mean, you flew all the way over from Switzerland. I remember.
That's exactly the
tell
thing.
us more.
So the story is that when I was a kid, I used to kind of draw a lot and paint a lot, but then I forgot it or left behind forever for many years. And then at one point in 2016, end of 2016, I got sick. And one of the ways to recover from that was actually to rediscover painting. And it was my wife pushing me to do that, because otherwise I would have waited for forever again. Wow. And actually I restarted. And then, but I restarted with a new mind, of course. And then, of course, you start, browsing artists, trying to get inspiration from others. And then, of course, you hit Richard work. That's what happened to me. So I was hooked immediately. And then I started to dig deeper and deeper, trying to understand who was behind, not just the artwork, but also the man, even the painter, the man. And then I started to purchase some of the material, books and videos and all that. And then the videos are fantastic because you get to know him beyond him being a painter. And that's why this assumption of him being a very good friend of the captain is because you can tell that from the video. There is such a level of transparency, which is amazing. The way they communicate is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then by just mere coincidence, I got to learn that there was this event in Vermont when they were celebrating Richard. So I was saying, you know what, it might be now at an age where if I met him, I'm lucky too. So let's give it a try. Let's give it a shot. So I pinged immediately. I wrote an email to Kristen saying, we'd love to be there for this event. Do you know if Richard is coming or not? She said, I'm not sure he will. So, and then I was hesitant to go. But then my wife, once again, she pushed me, said, you never know. Let's go. It's going to be beautiful anyway. And the funny thing is the whole event was happening in the same weekend that my sister-in-law was getting married. So we had to kind of choose between so at the end, we did the two. So we went to the marriage. And then the morning after, very early, we took the flight, and we arrived there. But a big thing that happened before taking the flight was actually receiving an email from Kristen telling us, you guys should come, no matter what. So it was the one thing that convinced us to go. You should come because if you do come, we'd love to have you for a dinner at the opening day. So the opening day, there was this dinner organized with few fellow artists of him, and they said, okay, we have to go. And then we just went. So we went all the way through, and then we really arrived. We landed in New York, then we took the car, went up to past Boston, then we reached the event. We entered the dinner table, and Richard wasn't there at that time, but Nancy was there, and you were there too, Sammy. I remember that. And there was already there, you could tell that the environment was exactly what I was expecting. And that for me was amazing. I was feeling like at home, which never happens to me. What never happens to me when I enter a room, plenty of people that I don't know. I always have the feeling I'm a stranger. And I didn't have that feeling that day.
Wow.
And it was really meaningful, like, okay, I feel I belong here no matter what, even if I don't know them. They were so warm, so welcoming, and it was beautiful. The day after, we went to the exhibition, the demo of Daniel. Everything was fantastic, and I had, you can tell, tears popping up every second moment because I could see the work of Richard, even if it wasn't there, still fantastic, just fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I think Nancy understood how much I cared to hopefully meet him. And she was so kind that tried in some ways to arrange, because we were spending a few more days in the region. And then eventually this actually happened, that we got invited for a coffee there the day after. And that was just a magical moment. Richard was there standing taller than me. I was impressed. I could tell. I remember I said hi to him and I asked him if I could hug him, which I did.
That's great.
And yeah, it was just a few weeks before his birthday. He was turning 80, what was that, 84, I think at the time, or 83. Mm-hmm. Not good in math, but something like that. Yeah, so we kind of had, that was actually a gift for us. And we took a picture there. Behind him, there was actually, he was sitting at the desk, and behind him, there is this picture that he has put in the Alla Prima book. Is a portrait of Nancy. You probably all know about it.
Yeah.
It's just the real paint just behind the desk, you know. And I don't know, I mean, it's beyond emotions.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Totally.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this.
We've had a question, Adriano, from, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm going to say it's Wanshen, but I don't know. It might be Juanshen. But he's actually asked if you could share your picture with Richard. Now, I don't know if you have it, but if you do have it, you can just drag and drop your picture into the chat to the side, and then people can download it. So if you've got it, put it
I
in
will.
the chat.
I will. I'll take a moment to look it back, but I do have it for sure.
Yeah,
and I'll do that for sure.
Yeah, Adriano, I knew when I saw you, I thought, recognize that face. And I see thousands of people every year.
I was impressed at you.
No, I remembered you. You know why? For anybody who hasn't met Richard and Nancy, it's because they had such a great way of making people feel like they were family. And Richard was so warm and so kind and so giving. And Nancy is, we know, Nancy's just that to a T. She just is. Yeah. But they made such an effort with people that made an effort with them. And it doesn't surprise me that they went to the nth degree when you went.
They're real. They're real.
Yeah, they're just the best.
Just maybe when they say this world needs more artists, it is true. They believe that.
Yeah.
They believe that. And you believe it too if you start to be part of this.
What was it like to see that painting in person? What was it like?
You try to kind of you want to move in all directions and see all kind of textures and try to understand how did he do that. And then you have different phases. You look at the technical aspect first, but then you back off and you look at the emotional part of it. You try to understand the story, what he wants to say, why did he do that. So you have a different level of understanding of his work when you are facing it, which is amazing. It goes beyond just the mere act of the paint. You want to know why, and that makes it like sticking into you, right. Memory, soul, and heart.
Wow, that's so well said. So well said. That's beautiful. I mean, that should be on every museum wall and every newspaper. Why you need to go see the real painting, you know?
Yeah.
That's just, oh God, I'm sure that touched Richard so much. What a gift. What a gift you gave him too. I'm telling you, what a great birthday present for him. Good for
this is one of the things where I gave one and I got back 1,000 or 1,000,000, you know, like is I don't know how to say it, but there is no match, you know. you get a lot more than you give here, and that's something amazing. It doesn't happen very often. It didn't, at least in my life.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep you, Adriano, I'm going to keep you on the spotlight, on the screen. And
Thanks.
we have someone who's been waiting very patiently.
Go ahead.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try and attempt to say your name. Is it? Tell us.
Brenda.
Sai Brinda, and I'm from India.
Nice to meet you, Sai Brenda. Thank you so much for coming online.
My internet is a little choppy because it was raining over here, so.
Oh, I understand. Don't worry, it's been raining here too, and ours it goes a little bit funny too. So, whereabouts in India are you?
I'm near Bangalore, near where Apu and ma'am was from. So I'm from Hosur, India.
And how do you know of Richard Schmid?
So yeah, so I got to know him from Instagram, obviously, and I was like just scrolling through Instagram, and I saw Nancy's post, and I was like, wow, who is this? I don't even know about him yet, and I have much to learn about him. And I started reading about him, and I was just amazed at his works. And he's a god, I have to say. He's just amazing, and his portraits and his brushwork, and oh my god, it's just amazing. And all these stories that I'm hearing and made me realize that I would never be able to learn from him directly, and I would never be able to experience that, and I'm too late in the
No, it's not.
Rose,
So-
how do you answer that,
I don't know.
Rose?
Is she too late? You're just getting started, kid. Get painting. As long as you can hold a brush, it's not too late.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
We can't hear you, Simon. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, wait there 1 minute, Sarinda. Don't go anywhere.
Yes.
Okay, Adriano, so you've managed to let
Yes.
me. Can everybody see that? So that was what we're saying about 4 years ago.
It was 2018, so it's a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. Sorry, 3 years ago now. You see behind my head, that's the Nancy picture that you find in Alla Prima. I mean, Nancy portrait, sorry, a picture.
You know,
Fantastic.
that one to treasure forever. You should get that printed off now. You know.
That's for sure.
Can you show us any of your work there?
Yeah, sure. I do acrylics right now, and I want to start doing it in oils. But this is, I completed this actually, but I'm reworking this right now. This is a place called Tiruvannamalai in India. It's like a very close to heart place.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I completed this last year.
My God.
Oh yeah, nice. Wow, that's big. You work big, kid.
They're almost the same height as you.
We said you work big.
Yeah. This is a 4x2 actually. And I just got this frame.
Oh, wow.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
That's gorgeous. So Brenda, I actually went to India for a couple of weeks when I was 18, backpacking. And I started out in Delhi, and then I went Jaipur, Jodhpur, Amritsar, and then down through Ahmedabad, down to Chennai.
Wow. I'm my hometown is Chennai.
There you go. Well, that took me 6 days to get there on a train. I remember it well. Because beautiful, beautiful country, and the food
Thank
is
you so
nice.
much.
And thank you so much for coming online. I know that Nancy's going to watch this later and she will be blown away that you've come on, and keep painting, and thank you.
And there's so much to learn from you. There are so many professionals.
Are you going to join us tomorrow as well, Sabrinda? You're going to come tomorrow, yeah? And because we've got some great painters lined up. So, and you, Adriano, are you going to come on as well tomorrow?
That's for sure. I arranged my whole weekend around that. So
Been waiting so patiently there. See if I can click to ask to unmute.
Hi.
Go.
Hi there. Thanks for waiting. It's so lovely to see you. Where are you? Tell us what your name is and where you're calling in from today.
And I'm from India, Mumbai, the financial capital of India. And today I have arranged a still life to paint with alla prima style, like whatever I could learn from Richard Schmid's book, alla prima, all I know about. So I've been painting, as you can see here. It's my studio is, I cannot go to my studio because of the lockdown here. So I'm painting at my home now. And in my home, I have made a small studio like atmosphere. And you can see I can just turn the camera here. 1 minute. Oh my God. Yeah. Here is okay. Still life I have organized. You can see here.
I can see, yeah, beautiful.
It's a small thing I have arranged for, and I'm painting this year. And I am in touch with Richard Schmid from 1996. One of our very great artists of India, Sir John Fernandez. He's no more now, but he was a great fan of Richard Schmid, and he used to show us his books. Alla Prima, we were crazy about that book because he would tell that I paint this because this is what Richard Schmid says, and he would paint like that. And he was amazing master. Wherever we went with him, we used to go out for painting and plein air also. So John sir would always recommend us to learn from Richard Schmid's books and not from any other artist. He said, don't learn it even from me. Learn just go through his book. So from those time onwards, we would be talking about in our classes or wherever we meet, all the young artists, we would be talking about like, did you see anything new? Because at those times, it was difficult to have web and everything. The way we now see on internet, it was not available. So wherever we could see a little, we would all grab together and we would all sit together and discuss about each stroke, how Richard Schmid made. And then in, I think, 2000, one of our sir, he went to US for his portrait art competition, and he got 2 videos from Richard Schmid for alla prima painting. One was that captain portrait, and yeah, so that was the first time we saw him working, Richard Schmid working, and we were so amazed. He hosted a full show in his house where almost 50 painters were together, and we were seeing his video, because otherwise it was impossible to see Schmid working. And then later on, it became a habit that whatever new used to come on Richard Schmid's website, we would be grabbing, we would be discussing, we would be working. So that's how it's amazing. It's really a pleasure today that I am a part of the whole event. I am also painting. Yesterday night, I started one painting at 9:30 and finished at about 12:30. And today got up little late. So I started this at about 12. And I think it will be over by now. So it's a wonderful thing, wonderful journey. And whatever you are doing today, it's such an amazing thing. In fact, we do it on every 12th January. We, few artists, almost 25 artists, we meet to celebrate John Sargent. So
Really?
every year, yeah, we meet and we paint and plein air. We make sit one model into one of the gardens or anywhere, and we all sit together and celebrate uh, John Singer Sargent. And now I think we will make a habit to celebrate Richard Schmid every year and meet every year so that we all can be together and discuss and see and read about Richard Schmid. We are very, very happy and thankful to you. Thank you so much.
Bless you. What a beautiful story. Thank you. Anybody that was listening there that appreciated that, we're showing thanks through sign language. So
Thank
you
you
can
so
do
much.
it
Thank
like
you.
this.
Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome. Where are you calling us from today?
I am calling from a very special place in the history of art. It's called the Brandywine Valley. Yes, and it's in Pennsylvania and Delaware. And it is the home of Jamie Wyeth and his father, Andrew Wyeth, and his father, N.C. Wyeth. And it's a mecca of painters.
Wow.
I'm surrounded by hundreds of accomplished painters.
Bless you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you spend a couple of moments telling us what brings you here to celebrate Richard? And did you know Richard? Do you have any stories or anything you want to share with us?
Well, I felt so deprived when I learned of his passing because I never met him. And I only discovered him through American Art Magazine, which did a feature probably 6 or 7 years back on his landscapes. Mm-hmm. And that prompted me, I was like, who is this? And it prompted me to look him up and then to buy the books. And I thought one day I will meet him. You know, I will do that. So now it's postponed. The meeting's postponed. But he's certainly an inspiration to me. My passion is still lives, and that's what I paint for the most part. Somebody mentioned how that every sentence in that book seems like it's, you know, there's a lifetime of experience within the sentence. It's true. I can hardly get through that book. I'm every time I look at it, I'm stopped. You know, I can't get beyond one page because there is so much.
I know what you mean. I don't know if you saw just before we brought you on. But we were speaking to a young artist. I'm going to find her quick so I can remember the name. It was Ubashi, and she's from the UK, and she just found Richard's book only, you know, not so long ago, and she felt devastated. And you know what? The point of today is to celebrate. And you know, you have the books. We can get DVDs. We'll never bring Richard back, but what we need to do with Nancy is remember what he brings to us still, and he will live through us, right, and live on. And if you ever, I mean, have you ever been lucky enough to head out to New York to the Salmagundi Club or anywhere like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Sorry, have you ever been able to head out to New York or so Richard's paintings within the Salmagundi Club or within the Palette and Chisel? I know Clayton will tell you exactly which of Richard's works hang there. And we have to try and then celebrate through those pieces, you know?
Yes, well, I'm only 2 hours from New York, so now I have a new destination to go see the paintings.
Yeah, we'll find out specifically where you'd find them. I don't want to misquote anything. As soon as I can get someone, you know, are you going to be able to stick around with us for a little while?
I wish I could. I'm so blessed. I'm going to an outdoor workshop for the whole day at the NCYS studio, no less. We'll be painting in that studio. Yeah. So, but I can check back in later.
If you check back in later and ask the question, where can you see Richard's work? I know that there'll be people who are more informed than me to tell you specific places near New York. But it's so wonderful to have you on here. Thank you so much. You know, he lives through us. And we're so grateful that you checked in. What time is it where you are right now?
It is almost 7 p.m. a.m. Almost 7 a.m. It's 6:52.
You checked in real early for us. We're grateful. We're so
you know, and we are in a communion. It's so clear. I've been watching the event since 5:30 or so here locally, and we're all part of a communion. That's so clear.
We are. And you know, the nice thing about this is, I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me say, good people attract good people. And we're all here because we're good people, and Richard's brought us all together. I absolutely guarantee it.
Yes, you're right.
So what you need to do today is get your brushes out and think of Richard. We're celebrating Richard this weekend. Try and think of anything you can that would channel your inner Schmid to paint like the genius he was. And you're not alone. We're all grieving, but we're here to celebrate.
I only wanted to make one final comment, and that was I had the honor of working on a project with the artist Christo, who also decided to join Richard recently, and it was a peak experience in my life, and I learned something from it. It was in California, and Christo set up in California and Japan simultaneously 3,000 humongous umbrellas. And all of the umbrellas were open almost nearly simultaneously. And I saw they were on sides of a highway above near Los Angeles. And I saw this trucker in an 18-wheel truck. You call it a lorry. Pull off on the shoulder and climb out of his cab, and he started to cry like a baby because this was so beautiful. And I learned from that episode that I think what artists do is they crack shells. They crack people's shells, because this man was a tough, no nonsense, hard ass truck driver. And he saw this thing, and he turned into a baby. It was amazing to see.
Oh,
and people that have purchased my paintings say that to me, that they're moved, and it reminds them of something from their childhood, or maybe nothing they've ever experienced, but they are just moved by this visual. And I'm no Richard Schmid, but I'm learning that what we do just it cracks people's shells.
It does. It does. You're right. You're absolutely right. And it connects with people in so many different ways. That's the beauty of it. What might touch me and affect me, Joe could see it in a totally different way, as could the next person, you know. Listen, we're so grateful that you came on. I've got something that might cheer you up a little bit. Let me show you this.
Run away.
Come here. This is my little dog, Robert Max. And whenever I feel sad, all I have to do is cuddle this little thing, and he makes everything better. And I can tell you, he Skyped Richard. So,
Wow.
have a great day painting. Oh, you started me off again.
So that's 6 degrees of separation. I've met Max and he Skyped
There
with
you
Richard.
go.
That's great.
There you go. Have a great day painting. Where you're going to paint, we're all in awe of. I can speak from everybody here. Feel inspired. I hope that we've chipped away a little bit of your shell today. And we're so grateful that you came on. And if you can check back at any point, just join us, won't you?
Well,
But
I will.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for doing
Take
this.
care. My pleasure. Okay, I'm going to bring Guga in, and I'm going to bring Antonio. Sorry, Adriano. Sorry, not Antonio. Adriano, come back on for us. So I pressed to unmute you guys. Guga,
Hello.
say hello.
Hello, Simi.
Guga, tell us where you are calling us from today.
Well, I'm here in São Paulo, Brazil. I am at the beach right now.
Nice. Well, let me tell you one thing. I know last night you were drinking beer, so I don't know how you're awake so early right now in Sampa.
Yeah, I drink a little bit, not much.
Not much, not much. Well, how about this? Everybody, if you're painting, I want you to stop what you're doing. If you want to stop what you're doing, I got to share a story with you about this man. And I wanted Adriano to be here too, because he's had equally touching experiences with Richard. But the person you're seeing right now on the screen is so special. Guga, I'm going to speak for you and then I'm going to let you speak.
Oh, thank you.
Guga is a phenomenal painter, but a beautiful
Don't cry.
Too late. Too late.
You do it to me every time, Guga. He's a phenomenal painter, but he's a beautiful person. And I was blessed that I was sent out to Brazil a couple of years ago with Rosemary & Co. And my good friend Louis, who will come on later. But I was told by Ali Ryder, who runs the Plein Air studio, that a guy was going to come and see me for brushes, and that he'd travelled a long way, and that could I make sure that I saved some brushes for him. And I said, yeah, sure. You know, what time are we talking? And he said, well, he should be here at lunchtime. I said, I'll make sure I'm around. And Guga showed up. So I had a young gentleman show up, and I fell in love with his portfolio, and I was blown away by his work. And the English was muy mal. It was very small at the time. It was
poor.
Poor. But you know, I could connect with Guga because his work was so beautiful. Anyway, fast forward a year, I went back out to Brazil, and I said to Guga, I need to see you. He said, oh, you know, I don't know what for. I said, just please, can you come over at some point whilst I'm here? And I have a gift for you. And what Guga didn't know is, in the background, myself, Richard and Nancy had planned to give Guga a scholarship for our workshop in Yorkshire for Nick Howe. But the scholarship involved not only the week's workshop, but also the flight and making sure that he was completely covered when he was here. So he won the Richard Schmid and Nancy Guzik Scholarship Award, which was just unbelievable to me. When I told Richard and Nancy the story of how I met Guga, they just couldn't believe that this young guy was so great. He was so inspired. He's working so hard. And I joke that he's having a beer last night. I'm letting him off because it's Friday. But he is absolutely doing so well out there. And then obviously COVID hit. So our plan of Nick's workshop got pushed back a year and then pushed back another year. But Guga's going to be coming out with us next summer. You're going to stay at my house with Joe. And of course, Guga's part of our family. And like so many of the Brazilian people that we're friends with, I know that Richard absolutely adored all of you and was so grateful. And Nancy and Richard are particularly fond of you, Guga, because can you tell everybody what they did for you? Tell everybody what they did for you not so long ago for the Oil Painters of America.
So when I sent a letter for Richard, I just tell him how I was so grateful about the gift. It's just because of you, Simi, you know. It's because of you, because I met you. Not Richard first, you. So I tell him in the letter that I was so grateful, and I just thank him and Nancy for the gift. And when the letter came there, Nancy sent me a message on Facebook and telling me that the letter came and just thanks to me, and they decided to gifted me another gift again with the Oil Painters of America entry. So saying that I can participate of the competition, and I never painted any portrait from life before, because I started to paint it from by myself. So I paint from photos and etc. And so they gifted me with this competition, and for us Brazilians, dollars so expensive, Libra, pounds of two, and there is no chance to participate. So all of these gifts is so important to me. They gave me the participation, and I just went for it. let's say I went for it, and I participated, and suddenly I win the third place. I didn't know. I painted my friend from life for 2 days. I did 2 portraits of him, 1 per day. So I decided the better one, and I entry with that. So I win 3rd place. Like
Guga, you did
amazing.
You did such a beautiful job, and I know that Nancy and Richard were both just so proud to put you forward as their representative for that. And you know, to go into a plein air competition and your first ever one and come out 3rd is pretty good going as far as I'm concerned. So you're just brilliant, Guga. And you know, I know that Richard and Nancy love you so much, and she's gonna watch this back, okay, and she's gonna be so happy that you came online from the beach without a beer. Say hello.
Without a beer.